1 year ago, the world was literally at the time bracing for the fall of Kyiv. Seems like a lot longer ago than a year, but think back to that year. Perhaps even the end of Ukraine. You know, 1 year later, Kyiv stands, and Ukraine stands. Democracy stands. The Americans stand with you, and the world stands with you.
So that is President Joe Biden having taken a surprise trip to Ukraine as we enter just a few days in the future. It's going to be the 1 year anniversary of Russia's invasion of that country. As he points out, the country does still stand, much of it anyway, a lot of it, not so much when it comes to infrastructure. The many people who have died, the many, including children who've been carted away to Russia. There's a lot of people who are not still standing, but the nation still is. And so surprising trip there, obviously dangerous. We found out that they apparently have warned the Russian government that they will be going there, supposedly to tamp down hostilities, because obviously killing the president by accident or on purpose would sort of be an issue. In any event, I'm curious, Francesca, what you think about Biden's decision to head to Ukraine.
I think it's ballsy, given just how backed into a corner Vladimir Putin is, and I think Biden knows that. The war is not going well for him. The casualties are mounting even, more so than they were. This war is nowhere near an end, but I mean, I also think it was an important stance to take. So I'm of two minds on this, and I think it is important to mark it. I don't know if going to Ukraine was the way to mark that occasion, a 1 year anniversary. But look, I have to say, I do think that of the things that Biden has handled, railway strike aside, railway strike bad, Ukraine, maybe a B on how we have entered into this war in a way that feels both principled, not overly belligerent necessarily, not a full out hot war, and also not a sitting on our hands, let's just let Russia take over Ukraine, which my God would absolutely be happening under Trump. That being said, I'm sad that we're even in this situation and that we could not have used, and I still believe we should be using, diplomatic measures and means in the future to end this war and to have prevented this war to begin with. But like, that's another discussion. That's a separate discussion.
Yeah, look, and it's hard. Obviously, we're not experts on the geopolitics of Ukraine. It's past with Russia, all that stuff. Although, I have some background in some of this stuff. But yeah, it's difficult. Like when you look at some of the moves and things that Putin has said, he doesn't seem to be a fully rational actor from the point of view of, if you were evaluating whether this is a leader who really seems to care about what is best for the country or the soldiers or the citizenry. I mean, willingly throwing tens, maybe eventually hundreds of thousands of Russians into a massive meat grinder. Seems like a bad call. Hardly unprecedented when it comes to Russia, or the United States. I mean, Afghanistan back in the 80s was a similar sort of thing. The preference for either saving face or projecting strength, warding off challenges over the lives of your people, the state of your economy, if that was what you were going to care about, makes it a little bit harder to imagine that diplomacy will work. But obviously, you still have to do that. I agree that if Biden hadn't won in 2020, it's hard to imagine that we would be marking this anniversary in the same way. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot to hate about this situation for pretty much everyone.
Yes.
I am sure, as many people point out, that there is a lot of waste, and when it comes to the money that's being spent, but there's also a case being made as to that aid being the thing that has allowed this anniversary to be reached without Putin giving a speech in Kyiv. So I don't know, it's a complex situation.
It is, and I think the one thing, and I haven't watched the entire speech, so I apologize if he maybe said this, but I do think there needs to be, both for the American people, the Ukrainian people, and the Russian people, some kind of vision of peace and saying, we want to support the Ukrainian people and their sovereignty and their autonomy and their ability to defend themselves. However, we are looking forward to a settled ceasefire and peace. The last we've heard from Zelensky is that he would like Putin to be gone, right? That there should be regime change in Russia. And I think that is a line that Biden should firmly say, that is not that is not what we are aiming for. That is not our goal.
Yeah, it's totally fine to support him, but also disagree with him. I think that's very natural.
Of course.
And to use the diplomatic pressure is not only necessarily to be deployed against Russia. We're spending tens of billions of dollars on a regular basis. That should buy some influence.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.